Hi. It's not a manic Monday, but it's still a happy Monday, I think, for everybody. Some interest in transfers and rumours, some done deals, but not a huge amount. I think we're waiting for the pipeline of managers to emerge, and I think then the players will come. But anyway, this is FTB Sport. Please share us, pass us around both on Twitter and on Facebook. Tell your friends, particularly for those whose clubs that we don't get to that often. You know, Villa is going to get loads of mentions tonight. Where are the Villa fans out there? Who do you know? Mates who are Villa fans. Let's see if we can get some other groups going on FTB Sport. Sam, evening. Evening, sir. How are you?
How are we doing? I'm very well, thank you. Can you hear all right?
Yeah, very good. Loud and clear, dulcet tones in fine voice as always, yeah? So that's what I say. It's good. Let me kick off with what look like done deals, and then we've got all sorts of rumours. Some of them I think are rubbish, but some of them are probably going to be true. Buendia to Villa. I think we've all had a bit of a giggle about Arsenal wanting that transfer to be done. It didn't happen. Villa, clearly bigger club, and Buendia has chosen to go to Villa, and they're tying that up for a club record. Looks like a really good player. Wijnaldum, money talks, going to PSG rather than Barcelona. I think it was double his money. And then really we're on to rumours. And if I go to the first one, and then we'll just comment all the way through. The first one, just out of the bag. Mbappe and Lukaku look as though they're staying at their clubs. 2 weeks ago, lots of rumours. Mbappe was going to Real Madrid. That seemed like a done deal. And Lukaku was coming back. He was going to Chelsea. Abramovich was personally involved. Well, you know, Lukaku's come out and said, well, I'm staying. And PSG's chief executives have said Mbappe's staying here for life. Thoughts?
Wow. Lukaku, so there was that potential for him to go back, to Chelsea? I can't see that as being a fit for him. To be fair, I think they've probably moved on in terms of the way they play with Tuchel now, so I wasn't really sure that would be a strong one. I think Buendia, though, that you're talking about that going to Aston Villa, that suggests that there might be some movements the other way for Villa, and I think we've maybe touched on it. There's a strong rumour to suggest that Jack Grealish could be the player that's going, but that's going to be a massive deal if that goes through. And in a similar way to what Spurs did with Gareth Bale back in 2013, trying to get the players in before actually letting them go, it kind of has that sort of like feel to it. Ward-Prowse, I really like him as a player.
He's linked.
Who's he linked to?
He's linked to Villa. Villa have started to talk to Southampton about him. And Ward-Prowse looked like a man and boy at Southampton, didn't he? He's only played for Southampton. He did look like a one-club man, but then, hey, Jack Grealish did too.
Yeah. I like Ward-Prowse. I think he's obviously set-piece delivery is fabulous. You know, he's really key for that. And I think in an England setup, he could be almost like that sort of like, you know, that special teams where they bring on a kicker in the NFL. He's that sort of player that he could even do that in a dead ball situation, corners, free kicks, all the rest of it. But he's a good player as well. You know, he can play. Villa, if they do get him in, it would be interesting to see if it is going to be like Jack Grealish goes, because that's a massive loss. But I can't see him getting someone like Buendia in and also Ward-Prowse without somebody major leaving the club.
Yeah. Because that would be, that'd be an £80 million spend between those two.
And if you got them two and kept Jack Grealish, wow, what a team that would be.
Well, yeah, but that would be almost the whole of the Jack Grealish transfer, probably. And a bit of a deal for City with Luis behind the scenes there, because there's a word there that, you know, City had a buyback of about 20 mil, and he's probably a 35 mil player for Douglas Luiz there, and Villa really keen to keep him. I wonder whether that makes up the rest of the money, really.
So, interesting. Like I said, this is the interesting time just before the Euros start. I think once the Euros actually start and then it finishes, then we'll start getting more concrete rumours. But at the moment, there's a lot of talk going on, a lot of rumours going on, as you've mentioned already, and it's to sell news columns and, you know, space on YouTube and all the rest of that sort of stuff on social media. So.
But we need some managers. We need some bums on seats first. You know, the Portuguese guy going into Wolves hasn't been secured yet, but that looks safe. I believe
Yep.
I heard that Everton are talking to Nuno, and that'll be good for Nuno. I think that'd be a club above Wolves. That'd be a step up for him. I think he's a good manager, but I still think Rafa Benitez is better.
I think Rafa Benitez would. I think because Rafa Benitez apparently he's still got a property in around the Liverpool area, Merseyside area. And I don't think he's got that sort of thought, well, I've managed Liverpool, I'm not going to manage Everton. I think he just wants to manage at a club that gives him the opportunity to manage at that sort of level. And Everton would be a good fit for him. Nuno, having had Ancelotti and then to go to Nuno, I'm not sure how the Everton faithful would take that. But I do believe if they probably have Benitez and Crow about it. They say, oh, look, Liverpool, he's come back to us. And, if he can get them playing anywhere like how he got Chelsea playing when he went back to them, he's a good manager. He's just got a way of playing. So if you buy into that way of playing and you're happy with it, he'll get success there. He'll definitely get success.
Good. Because the other, what else did I hear on the manager go round? Yeah, that Sean Dyche has been offered a new contract at Burnley, which would indicate he's not going to Palace. So who's going to Palace? Maybe by process of elimination, which it's the guy from Swansea. But
yeah, there's still other teams that I think. Sorry, other teams. Other managers. Now, Scott Parker's has been talked about, obviously having been relegated with Fulham. Would he want to be in London still? Southeast London, going from southwest to southeast. I don't think that's a bad shout. Crystal Palace. Again, his way of playing might be something that they want, having had Roy Hodgson. Not to say that Roy Hodgson can't play attacking football, but he's not known for his attacking style of football.
No, I think Scott Parker, regimented discipline.
He's very, very disciplined. So Scott Parker, young, fresh manager, I think it could be something that they could look at in terms of a new direction. But it's a gamble because, Crystal Palace always tend to, the end of the season, it's like that, well, we've got the 40 points and it's kind of like drifts away. And you felt that with the Roy Hodgson era. You could see that he was, right, I've got you lot safe. I look like I'm going to be off on the beach now, and you lot can almost do what you want to a degree. So somebody else like Scott Parker would come in, fresh impetus. Maybe that's what they need.
Yeah, I like Scott Parker very, very much, and there's a lot of good young managers who've taken their clubs down or tickled with relegation, like Potter did at Brighton. And I'm not certain Palace have them. I know this is a terrible thing for me to say. I'm not certain Palace have the money. They are broke for a manager to want to go out there to play flowing football with the squad that they've got. They're not a flowing football squad. God knows where it would come from in that back four in the midfield. I have no idea, apart from Zaha.
It's some really good attacking players, like the Zaha, Eze. I really like him.
Eze's out for next year.
Oh shit! Of course, yeah. He's got that big injury. I keep forgetting. I keep mentioning his name.
Zaha goes, what's going to happen? You're going to have Benteke with his hands on his hips, stood up front, and the ball never getting to him.
That's a very good point.
Don't you? You can see it now. I'm not sure there's not a lot of managers looking at Palace and thinking, it's a bloody tough gig, that one.
Well, I don't know what the youngsters are like. I would imagine that, being a London club, they've got decent players in that academy, but whether or not there's enough of them in there that could be brought up to play in first team level, that's going to be very difficult. Because of the sort of team that they are. No disrespect to Palace, but they're not going to be in the top half regularly.
They need to find some more Wan-Bissakas.
They do.
The incredibly talented Ferguson from Birmingham, and he's been injured all season, and now he's got another injury. Their under 23s did win the league, which was the second division down, but did win that league. So I'm not sure it's a time for free-flowing football manager. I think, like Frank de Boer, I think it'll end in tears. I'm desperately concerned about that. I think it needs a highly disciplined, regimented manager, like a Sean Dyche, like a Rafa Benitez, someone who wants to play, move it around the ball.
So what about Nuno? Nuno? Would he be a good fit?
Yeah, I think he would have been a really good balance. He would have been the perfect balance because, again, he is regimented. As long as, one of the core ingredients of Wolves has been his contacts in Portugal to bring those talented Portuguese footballers in. I mean, where else would we have found a Neto from? Can he do the same? Can he replunder Portugal again in Palace and find those incredible value Portuguese footballers if he hasn't already sucked them out to Wolves? Patricio was an amazing goalkeeper signing. I think it was that one where, did he play for Lisbon? And the supporters all invaded the training ground and half their players walked out. So they got him for buttons when he should have been millions. But something like that. Let's read a few comments.
Quite a few, isn't there?
Gemma's in there. Harry Winkston, Man United. Come on, that's a giraffe, isn't it?
That's not happening. Well, if it does happen, congratulations, Man United. You're getting a special player there. I'm going to sell Harry Winks to you. I'm only joking. You know that, don't you? I'm not really serious. But if they want to buy him, they can have him. They can take him. I'll drive him there. I told you that before. I'll drive him there. Oh,
that's a funny one. I've seen Tony making some comments here. Hang on. Yeah. Even for Tottenham. Yeah, right. You even want to reply to that?
Dear me.
Rossa, my pal out there in Tenerife, the passionate Real Madrid fan, she watches us closely. She'll be back in there. Mr. K, Special K, Benitez, a class manager. Everton could do worse. Absolutely. I think he's the best they could get.
100%.
Yeah. I heard this. Erik Ten Hag, he's the guy from Ajax for Spurs.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know if this is just a more chance to kind of get people to bet or to smoke screens or whatever, because we was linked with him before. Then it wasn't. Then it was like Poch. Then it was down to Conte. If it was Ten Hag now, he would look at it and think, well, I'm not been first choice. So, I've just signed a new contract with Ajax for another year. You're going to have to sell me something. If that was me in that position, knowing that I'm not going to be first choice, he'd be a great fit for Spurs in terms of a rebuild. He's not a manager that I think is going to come in and be able to win something straight away, although that's what we're looking at. I think he would be able to play a lot of the younger players that we've got, maybe use some of the fringe players, but you'd also have to get quite a lot of these players out. Harry Winks being one of them. But there is still that talk about Erik Ten Hag. So we've done a couple of shows on it at Paxton Road to discuss him. I think he's a good manager and he would be a good fit, but it is a rebuild. It's not a come in and
his knowledge of Dutch football would be really good. His pull from the most talented Dutch young players would be good, no?
Well, that's the thing, but it's whether or not he can bring that sort of philosophy. But that's one thing, but also the players. I wouldn't, if I was Ajax, be too keen to see him go somewhere and then start plundering my youth academy. So they may have some sort of agreement in there that you can't do that for X amount of time. I don't know. It's not easy to do that once someone leaves the club, to then pull all the players with them, because that's not really what they want.
No, it's not. It's not cricket, but it happens. I mean,
it does. It does happen.
We were talking about Wolves a few minutes ago, and it may not be just from Ajax, but his knowledge of all the Dutch clubs and the talent elsewhere would be super extensive, I'd have thought. Mr. Special K, not so special. Ian Holloway could do Palace. It would be funny.
You don't want to go Ian Holloway.
I like Ian Holloway. I'm an Ian Holloway fan. He's as mad as a box of frogs. But
no.
I'm not certain the time is now for Ian Holloway. I think the time has gone 10 years ago. So
him and his flat cap. You see him with his flat cap on the sidelines. He's just a character. He is. That's all he is.
Palace need a proper striker. I can't disagree with that. With Eze out, and surely this is the last season Wilf will put on a Palace shirt. Surely he's got to go somewhere so that we can really see his true potential. They do need a proper striker, because Benteke, he's the Sissoko of Palace. If there's 6 months to go before his contract's running out, he looks like Mbappe. But the rest of the time, he looks like, I don't know, George Weah when he turned up at Man City at 35.
Yeah. You are comparing Benteke to Sissoko. I don't even think Benteke is as bad as that. But anyway, that's another story.
Their attitude.
Yeah. To be fair to Benteke, he's done better this season than I've seen him in a while. Whether or not that's because he's played more, I know he's not been prolific in his goal scoring, but he's still a player that would attract a lot of attention from other clubs in and around that sort of area where Crystal Palace are. There was talk of him potentially going to Spurs. I don't know if that's just talk, isn't it? But he is. Yeah, again, depends on the service he gets, depends on his confidence, and like you said, his attitude's got to change. If he wants to be a top player, I mean, he could be a very good player. I don't think he's going to be world class ever, but he could certainly, give something to a team if he applied himself in a more of a direct way.
Mm-hmm. Another comeback from Gemma there, Frank Lampard to Palace. Yeah, I would put him. I'd also put him in the not quite tried and tested category, a little bit like Scotty Parker. I'd be just a bit nervous. I think it needs a tons more experience, well-regimented, well-disciplined manager in Palace. Otherwise, you're going to play some football and go down.
What about then?
Lampard, look at that club and think, that could be the end of my career.
What about someone like Steven Gerrard? To get into the Premiership? Team like Palace?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe one season at Chelsea, is that enough preparation to keep Palace in the Premier League? I'm not sure. I just rather fancy someone a little bit more experienced at Palace, a little bit more experienced. I like the look of what Gerrard's done, at Rangers, etc. I just think he needs one more year. If we think about how many of those other managers, say, who've come up, had one good season, and then like Chris Wilder, and then the wheels have fallen off. Let's see what he does next season. Everyone's always keen after a manager's had one good season to sign him up. He's the next God-given manager. But look what happens on the second season.
Well, depends on what happens with Liverpool and Klopp. I think that could be Gerrard's next stop, could be Liverpool, unless somebody else takes him in as an interim before that. And again, that's why I'm looking at someone like Palace. They've been talk again about Spurs. I think maybe not quite for us at the moment, but again, you give him. It could be something that could work, but you're right in what you're saying. He hasn't got that much experience, and in a 2-horse race in Scotland, he's come out on top, unbeaten for the season. So he's obviously got some credentials there.
Yeah, he's had a good first season. Call me an old cynic, but I have seen it before. That a young manager has a good first season and then the wheels fall off. But I still think it takes with the budget Palace have got, with the players that they'll inherit, I think it needs a super experienced, gritty, well-disciplined, well-organised manager just to keep them in. I think there is, what you said there about Gerrard and Liverpool long-term is a lot like my friend Rossa says about Raúl and Real Madrid. Raúl is running, and I always forget the name of the Spanish team. She'll remind me again of what it is. It's like their second team to Real Madrid, who just won the league lower down. And they're almost grooming it. They reckon it's got lots of young, talented Spanish players who could be the future of Real Madrid, but they're just maybe 1 to 2 years still in the making.
Yeah.
So, Castilla. She's reminded me again. Castilla is the team that Raúl manages, and it's a little bit like, let's prepare for 2 or 3 years to be able to bring them in. NG20 joke says Mourinho will be available in time for the relegation. But I know this is a bit of a joke, but before he got the gig at Roma, which I didn't think he would get, I have to say, I think he's done well to get another gig as big as Roma. I just wondered whether, and again, we're talking about an experienced, gritty, disciplined, boring-ish manager. I just wonder whether he'd have gone to Palace and refound himself and wanted to stay in London. But maybe that was just what I'm thinking.
Jose?
Mourinho, yeah.
Oh, it's money though, isn't it? You know what I mean? You'd have to pay him certain money. He's not going to go to anywhere without getting paid. He's
the weekend photo days.
No, I don't. To be honest, I don't believe that Jose really cares now in terms of whether or not. No, that's probably the wrong phrase. I think he's not going to be the same manager he was in those past. I think he's now come to Spurs. We've seen, a lot of it was to do with all the back stuff that's going off at Spurs and the players, all the rest of it. But Jose has a way of managing, and it doesn't suit everybody, and he commands a lot. And if you go into somewhere like Palace and you don't have what he needs, and the players don't respond to him in the way that he wants, then there's nowhere to go. It's absolutely nowhere to go.
I'm conscious we're on a timescale. You've got to run, and I really would like your views on the next few. So I'm going to throw 3 at you. Haaland to Chelsea, Sancho to United, Chris Wood to Everton.
Haaland to Chelsea, I hope never happens, because that would be pretty much that done in terms of having a manager like Tuchel who can put pieces into a jigsaw and make them work. We've seen what he's done in that Champions League final. He can outwit someone like Pep. You know, I think he can get it right on it. And if you've got a piece in the jigsaw that's Haaland, that's guaranteeing you goals. I don't care what anybody says. He is guaranteeing you goals. And with the amount of creativity that they can develop at Chelsea with some of the players they've got, it could be frightening. Sancho to Man United. I'm not sure about this one, because I really believe this is another bluster sign where they say, oh, Sancho, but they're not really ever going to get him, because they're going to have to pay some money, certain amount of money. Now, Dortmund are in no position they'd have to sell him. If it was going to happen, it could have happened last year, but they set their target. They said, this is how much it's going to cost. By all accounts, it wasn't met in terms of the valuation. Why all of a sudden the Man United are going to come in and meet the valuation that they are, given the fact that it's even worse financial situation that we've got now? I'm not so sure that's going to happen unless they sell players significant. And what was the last one?
The very solid Chris Wood from Burnley going to Everton.
Good professional, and I think he could definitely, I say improve. He wouldn't be any worse, put it that way. And, you know, he could be there if Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the main striker. It could put pressure on him, because he's a very good professional. And again, he's the sort of player that if Dominic Calvert-Lewin was injured, you'd have no problem putting him in there for 15 games, 10 games, depending on how long the injury or whatever he's out there for, because I think he can score goals. I just don't know whether or not he's going to rely on him for 20, 25 goals a season.
Yeah, but Big Duncan could probably take him to a higher level.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And we actually talked about Villa Ward-Prowse. We've got through this. A few more comments. Still think Ralph Ragnick for Tottenham.
Ralph Ragnick, director of football.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take that. But we've all looks like it's Fabio I can't even pronounce his name. Patricio.
yeah. I think it's similar to the goalkeeper in Wolves, isn't it?
It's similar.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Patricio. I think something like that. But sorry about that. Shoot me down on that one. But, you know, I'm hoping things over the next few days develop just on the manager front. If Palace get a manager, if Wolves guys in place, and Spurs get a manager in Everton, then the games will resume. And, you know, we will start to see a merry-go-round. You're right. The Euros will possibly stifle some of that. So maybe the signings will be a bit late. But I have to say, most of those clubs always want to do their business early. Man City usually want to do their business early. You know, but boy, you're right. Let's leave it on the thought that if Chelsea got Haaland, that's bloody game, set, and match. I would take.
It's game over. It really is. It really is.
I want Haaland at City. He's moldable from Pep. He's an awesome player. Whereas Harry Kane's the right fit for City.
I wouldn't see why City would spend that money on Harry Kane, because again, he's not going to come cheap. No. You could probably get Haaland cheaper, and as a long-term prospect, you're going to get that value back. He's 22 years of age, 21 years of age. You're always going to get that money back, because he could stay there for 5 years and be 26. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I gotta hope City can get Haaland, but they'll probably have to wait till next summer. If there's going to be 120 million spent, it will be by Chelsea. And bearing in mind, I think Tomori, they've just got 30 of that in. So that would be a net spend of 90, and they made more than that in the Champions League final.
Wow.
So,
It's scary. It is scary.
Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Any other last thoughts?
I just hope that Jack Grealish doesn't go to City, and Haaland doesn't go to City, and Haaland doesn't go to Chelsea. That's all my wishes, because otherwise the league's done already. You know, Jack Grealish going to City, and let's say, God forbid, Harry Kane goes there as well. That's done. Chelsea picking up Haaland. It's frightening. Frightening prospect.
Your mate Boy from the Lane says hello.
Boy from the Lane, welcome. He's a good character. He is very good character.
Cheers. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much. Bye.